Welcome, everyone. Bonjour tout le monde. 2 months ago, I was at a rink in Edmonton where I'd learned to play hockey. And that's about as far as you can get from the grandeur of Rideau Hall. And I was there because I was putting up my hand to run for the leadership of the Liberal Party of Canada. And I was doing that because I knew our country needed to take action. We needed to act to fix our economy. We needed to act to fight the Americans. We needed to act to deal with Donald Trump's tariffs. Il y a 9 jours,
9 days ago, our new government was sworn in, and we immediately decided to act. This week, we reached an agreement on national defense with Australia to protect Canada. We strengthened our security relationship with France and the United Kingdom to protect Canadians. We launched discussions on a new trade agreement with the European Union to provide more assistance to Canadian business.
We eliminated the tax on carbon for consumers, for small businesses, and for farmers, to end the division that it was creating amongst Canadians. Because we are stronger together. We reversed the increase in the capital gains tax so that builders are encouraged to take risks and be rewarded when they succeed. When I met with the premiers in Ottawa on Friday, we agreed to eliminate barriers to trade and mobility inside our country. And the federal government is leading by committing to legislate the end of all federal barriers to interprovincial trade by July 1st. Together, we will push to create one Canadian economy by Canada Day, because we are stronger together. This past week, we acted to protect workers, using the proceeds of our retaliatory tariffs against America's unjustified trade actions. We acted to unlock major infrastructure projects and get them moving rapidly, including clean and conventional energy, critical minerals, and new trade corridors with reliable trading partners. We acted to create new supports for farmers and businesses during this trade war. We expanded dental care for millions of more Canadians. And we took all of these actions and more to create the foundation to build a stronger Canada. There is so much more to do to secure Canada, to invest in Canada, to build Canada, to unite Canada. That's why I'm asking for a strong, positive mandate from my fellow Canadians. I've just requested that the Governor-General dissolve Parliament and call an election for April 28th. And she has agreed. We are facing the most significant crisis of our lifetimes because of President Trump's unjustified trade actions and his threats to our sovereignty. Our response must be to build a strong economy and a more secure Canada. President Trump claims that Canada isn't a real country. He wants to break us so America can own us. We will not let that happen. We're over the shock of the betrayal, but we should never forget the lessons. We have to look out for ourselves. We have to look out for each other.
We know that we must look after each other, that we cannot control the U.S. President, but we can control our own destiny. We are masters in our own home.
We can control our destiny. We can have a new Canada built by us, for us. We can give ourselves more than any foreign government can take away. And the best way we can deal with this crisis is to build our strength here at home. and help people who will be hit hardest by these tariffs. That's the right thing to do. That's the fair thing to do. That's the Canadian thing to do. That's what makes us strong. As part of that strategy, today I'm proposing a middle-class tax cut to help all working Canadians get ahead. We will cut the lowest income tax bracket by 1 percentage point. For a middle-class tax cut that will benefit a two-income family by up to $825 a year. Aujourd'hui, je propose de réduire les impôts
I am proposing a middle-class tax cut that will help all Canadian workers. We will reduce the lowest tax bracket by 1%. This tax reduction for the middle class will make it possible to give back $825 in revenue to a family.
I'm asking Canadians for a strong, positive mandate to deal with President Trump and to build a new Canadian economy that works for everyone. Because I know we need change, big change, positive change. You see, my generation was fortunate. For us, there were more opportunities and life was more affordable. You had to work hard, but you could get ahead. That was the bargain. But for the generations that have followed, they're working just as hard or even harder than we did. But they're struggling to pay the rent, to put groceries on the table, and to save for their kids' educations. J'ai passé toute ma carrière
I spent all my career understanding how the world works and how it can work better for us to allow us to benefit the most. That has been our priority these last 9 days, and that will always be the priority of our new government. The challenge is significant, but I want all Canadians to understand that we have everything we need to succeed right here in Canada. If we have the right plan, and if we work together, because building a strong Canada helps everyone, and we will have to show leadership.
It's easy to be negative about everything when you've never fixed anything. It's easy to be negative about everything when you've never built anything, when you've never had to make a payroll. But negative slogans aren't solutions. Anger isn't action. Division isn't strength. Negativity won't win a trade war. Negativity won't pay the rent or the mortgage. Negativity won't bring down the price of groceries. And negativity won't make Canada strong. Nous avons vu où la négativité
We
et
have
la
seen
division ont mené les États-Unis.
how negativity and division have that has led to in the United States. We are stronger when we are united.
Parce qu'ils ne le sont plus.
We will not allow ourselves to be weaker. So let us unite in this time of crisis.
I love Canada. Our country has given me everything. I stood up in Edmonton 2 months ago, and I'm standing here today because I want to give it all back to Canada. So that every Canadian kid, whether they're growing up in Nanaimo or Montreal or St. John or Scarborough or Inuvik, has the same opportunities that I had, the same hope, the same confidence in a brighter future. It's time for all of us to come together and be strong. So I'm asking for your vote so we can be Canada strong. Un Canada fort. Vive le Canada.
Long live Canada.
And with that, I'd be pleased to take your questions.
Thank you, Prime Minister. We'll begin our question period. We'll take 15 minutes of question, one follow-up. Merci. On va prendre 15 minutes de questions, une question et une question de suivi. Première question.
Good afternoon, Tonda McCharles with the Toronto Star. Sir, why are you throwing the country into an election in the middle of a tariff war? And if you think it's so necessary now, then why not make it longer so Canadians can really test drive you to see if you represent the change you claim to represent?
Well, a couple of things, Tonda. First is that we have put in place a tremendous amount of change in the 9 days that I have been Prime Minister. That includes changes to taxes, including the announcement today of a middle-class tax cut. But very importantly, we put in place protections for workers. So we made a commitment right from the start that we would use all revenues from retaliatory tariffs to protect our workers. And we put in place changes to the EI system in order to do that. I note that Mr. Poilievre has taken that money and said he will use it for a tax cut. Doesn't care about workers being in place. We put in place protections for businesses through this period. We have shown the scale of our ambition in terms of creating what Canadians have asked for. And I've heard this time and time again across this great country. Canadians want one Canadian economy, not 13. They want us to break down those barriers. So we brought together the first ministers, the premiers of the provinces. We hammered out a consensus about achieving that. We're picking up on the model that Nova Scotia and others have put in place. We're making a commitment at the federal level to legislate the removal of all these barriers by Canada Day so we can have free trade by Canada Day. So we've done a lot. I could go on, but we've done a lot in the 9 days to put in place many of the foundations. But what's important is that the government has a mandate from the Canadian people to finish the job of building that Canadian economy, to finish the job of diversifying our trading partners, and to have a strong mandate to stand up to Donald Trump and the Americans and negotiate the best deal for Canadians. And that's what I will do.
After that meeting Friday night, you said you linked Pierre Poilievre's Conservatives to Elon Musk and Donald Trump's approach to cutting taxes, regulations, foreign aid. Mr. Poilievre's just staked out his own platform pitch to Canadians right now, today saying that he will stand up to Trump, that a liberal's still just a liberal. So on what basis can you fairly compare the Canadian Conservatives to Trump-style Republican Conservatives?
Well, first, the comparisons are quite easy. You look at the language mirrors, and the track record of language stretches back over years. It's not a recent phenomenon. So straight from the language, number one. Secondly, from the intention. So Elon Musk stands up and says, and the Trump administration eliminates foreign aid. Within a few days, Pierre Poilievre flies in and out of Nunavut and says, I'm going to eliminate foreign aid. By the way, doesn't talk to the Premier, doesn't talk to local Indigenous leaders while he's there, not our approach, obviously. So a series of words plus proposals which are uncannily familiar with the proposals of the Trump administration. Very different from our approach, very different from approach for example, to building a housing market, both offering much greater supply, very different from our approach. I'll give you one last example because I know there's a long lineup of questions. Today, we announced that we are going to expand dental care. Now, the dental care program that was put in place several months ago now serves 1.8 million Canadians. 1.8 million Canadians have received dental care under this program. These are people who could not afford dental care previously. Pierre Poilievre pretends they don't exist. We've just expanded the potential pool by another 4.5 million Canadians who also are in that situation. That is a very different approach to Canada. That's a Canada that brings Canadians together, protects all, and that's the Canada we're offering.
Good afternoon, Prime Minister. Ashley Burke, CBC News. You've repealed the capital gains tax changes, and you're promising this middle-class tax cut, but you're also making new spending commitments. So how do you plan to pay for that, and what kind of cuts will you have to make to keep up with your promise of a deficit below 1% of GDP?
Well, a couple of things. One is that we are looking at driving efficiency in government, in other words, productivity in government, by flipping around the approach to government, which is to concentrate on the outcomes as opposed to the dollars in. And so that's part of the reason why, it's the core reason why we put in place a new Ministry Department of Government Transformation, use a series of reviews on programs, but also new technologies, AI, to drive those productivity. I'm going to, if I may, Ashley, just clarify something which you said, which is that we're differentiating between spending less as a government, and I would recall that government spending has gone up around 9% on average over the last several years. So we're going to get that level of spending increase down. That in and of itself will create room. But what we're concentrating on is Canada investing more. It is time to build. It's a tremendous time to build out this economy. It's what we need to do to create jobs, higher paying jobs and growth. And we will use scarce taxpayers' dollars to catalyze huge private investment in the likes of opportunities that we discussed as First Ministers on Friday. And for those who didn't watch it, I can understand why people wouldn't have watched that, so I'll say it now. This is clean and conventional energy. These are new trade corridors. This is millions and millions of homes in this country to get the cost of new homes down for all Canadians. And that's what we're looking to do as a government. That's what we will do as a government, and we put many of the foundations in place in just 9 days. We're asking for a mandate to finish that job. En français maintenant ou après?
Oui, sur ce que vous coupez juste là.
On what you're cutting.
En ce qui concerne l'assainissement budgétaire,
yes, with respect to budget issues,
la productivité du gouvernement que les réductions des dépenses actuelles. Alors,
we need to spend less government revenue and focus on results
les dépenses,
as opposed to simply spending. Second, we are focused on investment in Canada.
Utiliser les dollars
by using government revenue to catalyze private investment in housing, in the clean energy sector, in the conventional energy sector, and critical minerals, etc., all of which we discussed at the First Ministers' meeting.
You're a new leader, but the Liberal government has been in power for a decade. Your ministers served under the Trudeau government. Why should Canadians believe that you, when you say that you represent something different and change?
Well, I have several things. The first is that you've seen a change in approach and action. It's not words, but action. So the changes to the tax regime that I've mentioned, the changes to our approach to housing, you'll see much more in the coming week in terms of increasing dramatically the supply of housing. Change to the approach to our external trading partners and our security partnerships with the accords with France, with the United Kingdom, the building out with the European Union. Changes to the coverage of healthcare in this economy. So all of those steps, the scale of ambition and change in creating one Canadian economy. And I think one of the things that I would emphasize is that I recognize, and my government recognizes, the need to act dramatically and act rapidly to build an economy that's strong for Canada, to control what we can control, to build for us and by us. That's what we're doing. The other thing I would add is that we have some very strong members of our caucus of ministers. I'm fortunate to serve with them. We are recruiting some exceptionally strong candidates across this country. Some have been announced. Many more will be announced in the coming days. This is a renewed government, and the proof is in the action, and the action has been considerable. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mr. Carney. Christopher Nardi from the National Post. So Alberta Premier Danielle Smith recently said that she had asked the United States administration to pause their tariffs during the federal election because they were benefiting Liberals in the polls and hurting Conservatives under Pierre Poilievre. What is your response to those comments, and will you be able to work with the Premier in light of that revelation?
Well, my responsibility is to work with all Canadians, with all stakeholders, certainly with the premiers, with national Indigenous organizations, with Labour, with other stakeholders, with everyone. So that's my responsibility. I take that seriously. I was pleased that at the First Minister's meeting we had unanimous consent on our communique, on our objectives. We have to follow through with action for that. With respect to the Premier's comments, I take note of her alignment of Mr. Poilievre with Mr. Trump, and would note that that's one of the decisions that Canadians will have to make, whether they want a government that is unifying, that's standing up for Canada, and is taking focused action to build a better economy, or they want division and Americanism, and that's what Mr. Poilievre seems to be offering, and just endorsed by the Premier of Alberta.
In French, on Ms. Smith, please.
Oh, mon Dieu. OK. C'est beaucoup. Alors,
that's a lot.
Première chose.
First of all, as Prime Minister, I will work with all groups, with the premiers of this country, and with Indigenous leaders and unions, workers, and the society in general. That is my job, and that's what I will do. And there is an example that I'd like to mention with the consensus that we were able to reach on Friday at the First Minister's meeting. And furthermore, it would seem that the Premier of Alberta is saying that, in fact, Mr. Poilievre and Mr. Trump are pretty much the same. So that's the choice for Canadians. A Canadian Trump or a government that unites the country and focuses on action in order to build a strong economy that works for all Canadians. Not easy to jump into French, eh?
During the leadership campaign, you promised to, quote, cap immigration until it reached sustainable pre-pandemic levels.
Yeah.
Pre-pandemic immigration levels were rising. So will you be lowering, maintaining, or increasing current immigration levels?
Yeah, this is an important question. So the way I would characterize the situation is that post-COVID, there was a surge in immigration, both in temporary foreign workers, in foreign students, as well as permanent immigration, and we have not lived up have not lived up to the bargain with those people. There's not adequate housing. Not everyone who came here for an education was getting an education that they would expect. And a consequence of that, many other aspects, but a consequence of that is the new caps that have been put in place on much lower levels of immigration, including temporary foreign workers, including foreign students. And those caps, or something similar to those levels, in my judgment, need to remain in place until we've expanded housing. We've reabsorbed the levels of immigration that have happened in our country, and so there's not a predetermined point where one would remove or adjust those caps. And si je peux dire, parce que chaque question est en
I can
anglais
say
et en
this
français,
because every
si je peux
question
dire,
is in English and French. If I can say, with respect to Quebec,
c'est une question de,
well, for Quebec,
d'intégration des immigrants
the issue is
à la société
integrating
québécoise.
immigrants and making them part of Quebec society. So there is a need for a pace that can make that happen.
Prime Minister Carney, you're a practicing Catholic. You went to church before you visited the Governor General this morning. Do you explicitly support a woman's right to choose? And how will your faith impact your policy deliberations should you win this election?
Thank you for the question. I wouldn't have drawn attention to the fact I went to church, but thank you for noting it. I absolutely support a woman's right to choose unreservedly, and will defend it as the Liberal Party has defended it proudly and consistently. I will defend the Charter proudly and consistently, as the Liberal Party does. I would say this: I don't speak about these matters. I think what's relevant, when I say matters, my personal faith or spirituality, but I'll say what's relevant is that it informs my sense of responsibility and service. I feel, that I should serve our country the best I can. And if I go back to my journey to be standing in front of you here, I did feel at the turn of the year, as the crisis bore down on us and the need for big change, that I should put my hand up and be part of that change. I'm humbled that I was chosen as leader of the Liberal Party. I'm privileged that I have had this time in government, a short time in government. We have made major changes to put Canada in a stronger position, a much stronger position. But much more needs to be done, and that's why I'm standing here in front of you and have asked, and the Governor General has agreed, for us to have this election so that we can make real change, positive change that brings this country together and builds an economy that works for everyone.
Why did you choose to run in the riding of Nepean, and what was involved in your decision in terms of also the fact that Mr. Chandra Arya, who has represented this riding for quite some time as a Liberal, what is the situation involving him being disqualified from running in this race? And do you live in this riding?
So several things there in your question. First, the decision of candidates selection or candidate approval, we have within the Liberal Party a committee called the Green Light Committee, which takes into account various information about candidates, does basic candidate due diligence, if I can put it that way. Mr. Arya, so I am not a member of that committee. They take their decisions. Mr. Arya, as you know, was disqualified from the leadership race for the Liberal Party because of certain factors. That informed the decision, is my understanding, of the Green Light Committee to recommend that he be disqualified as a candidate in Nepean. Now, from my perspective, I've been a resident in the Ottawa area for almost 20 years, with the exception, of course, when I was quite obviously a resident in London when I was Governor of the Bank of England, but apart from the time when I was Governor there, I've been resident in Ottawa. I know Nepean well. I was best man to Peter Chiarelli, grew up in Nepean, so from Barhaven to Bell's Corners and in between, it's an area I know well. And in many respects, it's representative of many of the aspects, not all the aspects, but many of the aspects of this country. Median incomes around probably $50,000, $55,000, so a little less than the national average, but in there. Very diverse. Both the opportunities and the challenges that we face as a country, and those are challenges that I'm looking to address. That's why I put my hand up. That's why I'm here as Prime Minister. That's what I'm eager to move forward with my Liberal colleagues on. And this is the positive vision that we're putting forward for the people of Nepean, the people of Ottawa, the people of Ontario, the people of Canada. Thank you very much.
En français, monsieur, sur monsieur Arias, puis est-ce qu'on peut avoir une question en français aussi après, si c'est possible?
And could we also have a question in French following your
D'accord.
answer?
OK.
Yes.
Il y a deux requêts. En ce qui concerne M. Arias,
Now,
il y a
as
un
regards
processus
Mr.
dans le Parti libéral
Chandra
pour
Arya,
chaque,
there is a
candidat.
process
Chaque
within the
candidat,
Liberal
qui s'appelle
Party that
le feu vert,
has to do
une
with
comité, le feu vert.
green
Il y a-
lighting candidates
il y
in
a
an election.
des considérations.
And that committee reviews various considerations
Le comité, la comité à prendre en mesure afin de prendre une décision.
in order
En
to
ce qui
make a
concerne,
decision.
En ce qui concerne Nepean,
With respect to Nepean,
je peux arrêter là afin d'avoir l'autre question finale en français.
perhaps I
madame?
could stop
Ok,
there to
d'accord.
get a final question in French.
Oui, bonjour, Monsieur Carney,
Bonjour.
Sandrine
Yes,
Guerra avec
hello,
le journal Le
Mr.
Devoir.
Carney, Le Devoir.
Ma première question et ensuite un
My
suivi,
first
si c'est
question,
possible.
and then
Vous
I'd
dites
like
que
a
vous voulez
follow-up.
rendre la
You
fonction
say
publique
you
plus
want
efficace.
to make
Pouvez-vous nous
the
donner un ou deux
public
exemples
service
de programmes que vous comptez couper?
more
Non,
lean
c'est,
and mean.
il y a
Can you tell
d'autres
us which
choses. Il y a
programs you
deux
would like
choses.
to cut?
Par exemple,
Well, there are two
si
things.
on a un programme pour, afin d'accélérer l'investissement dans le logement,
There is a program put in place to accelerate investment in housing. Then each government
du secteur
dollar
privé va être
should
investir.
bring another
Alors, c'est
dollar
une
from the
question de
private sector.
productivité,
So it's a
pas
question
de
of
couper.
productivity, not about cutting.
Et vous n'avez toujours pas parlé
Well,
à
you
Monsieur Trump.
still have
Depuis
not
votre
spoken
arrivée,
to
les
Mr.
relations avec les
Trump,
États-Unis sont maintenant au cœur des préoccupations
and
des
the relationship
électeurs.
with the United States
Ils
is
voudront
really a
choisir
major
au terme de la
concern for
campagne la
voters.
meilleure personne pour faire face
They
au
will
président.
decide
Donc,
who's the
est-ce
best
que
person
vous
to
vous
stand
engagez,
up to
considérant
Mr.
que ce sera
Trump?
une campagne très courte à
And
rencontrer ou vous entretenir avec
Since
Monsieur
the
Trump
campaign
pour
is very
démontrer aux
short,
Canadiens que vous êtes capable
do you
de lui faire face?
intend to meet with Mr.
Je
Trump
suis
at
bien
some point?
capable de lui,
Mais est-ce que vous
lui
vous
faire
engagez à
face.
le faire avec
And do you
il
feel you
faut,
can stand up to Mr. Trump?
il y a
Yes,
des
absolutely.
conditions
I can
maintenant.
certainly stand up to
Il
Mr.
faut,
Trump, but there are
Monsieur le
certain
Président,
conditions for my discussion with
faut-
Mr. Trump.
Lui doit
Mr. Trump
reconnaître
must
que le Canada
recognize
est un
that
pays
Canada
souverain.
is a sovereign country.
Il faut le dire.
He has to say
Il
that.
faut l'accepter.
He has to accept that.
Avant d'avoir une grande discussion
Before we can have a
en ce qui
discussion
concerne, un accord commercial.
about a
Donc, vous
trade
ne parlerez
agreement.
pas à Monsieur Trump tant
So
qu'il est
you will
président.
not be
on
speaking
n'a
to
pas
Mr.
de
Trump.
réunion, pas
Well,
de réunion.
let's
On
just
parle
say there
toujours.
is no
On peut
meeting that
parler
has been planned,
Alors,
but
c'est tout.
Merci, c'est ce qui m'a fait à la conférence de presse. Thank you.
D'accord. Merci beaucoup. Bonne chance.